people that are out of work, and he mentioned also that we've got 47 million people today on food stamps. There were only 32 million on food stamps when the president took office. More people in poverty, 1 out of 6 Americans in poverty today. And against that kind of backdrop, we have a president talking about saving Big Bird. I think it's time to have a president who will talk about saving the American family. Obama and his campaign failed to grasp the seriousness of the challenges that we face here in America. His campaign said this today about the Benghazi terrorist attack. They said this, and I quote, "The entire reason this has become the political topic it is because of Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan." No, President Obama, it's an issue because this is the first time in 33 years that a United States ambassador has been assassinated. Mr. President, this is an issue because we were attacked successfully by terrorists on the anniversary of 9/11.
That's right.
President Obama, this is an issue because Americans wonder why it took so long for you and your administration to admit that this was a terrorist attack. Questions. The American people deserve serious answers, and I hope they come soon. Now, in our debate, we got to talk about some differences between us, because that's one thing we agreed upon, and that is that we have a very different vision for the future of America, and I hope you're able to pick that out. If President Obama were able to get reelected, why, he would raise taxes. He's made it very clear. The Vice President blurted out the truth the other day. They're planning on raising taxes $1 trillion on small business and on individuals. The estimate is their tax plan will cost 700,000 jobs. I make this commitment. I will not raise taxes on small business or the middle class in America. And he's going to install Obamacare. That's going to cost an extra $2,500 per year in your health insurance premiums. I instead will repeal and replace Obamacare. If the president is reelected, why, he made it very clear he's going to cut Medicare by $716 billion. I will restore Medicare funding and honor the promise made to our seniors. If the president gets his way and is reelected, why, he'll cut military spending by hundreds of billions of dollars. He'll also see a sequester, which was the idea of the White House, which would cut it hundreds of billions more. My own view is this: I will not cut our defense funding. I'll make sure we have military And then we were asked about jobs, how we get more jobs in our economy, more people working, more take-home pay. And the president actually described what he's been saying for the last 4 years, which is he wants another stimulus. How'd the first one work out? All right, and he wants to hire some more government workers. Nothing wrong with that, except that's not going to get this economy going. He said as well that he wants to raise taxes. He's going to make some investments. Remember the investments he made in Solyndra, Fisker, and Tesla, and everyone? A friend of mine said he doesn't want to pick winners and losers. He just wants to pick losers. He calls his plan forward. I call it forewarned. This president says he wants to fundamentally change America. I don't want to change America. I want to restore the principles that made America. by government. This nation's economy is driven by free people pursuing their dreams. It is free. When the founders crafted the founding documents of our country, they're both brilliant and I believe inspired because they said our rights came not from government but from God. Among our rights were life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. The right of this nation for individuals to pursue their dreams as they choose.
That's right.
And dreamers coming here from all over the world have helped build the most powerful economy in the world. I do not want to change America's foundation. I want to make it stronger. I want to restore the principles that will get our economy going and create the jobs and take home pay the American people deserve. You heard me. There are 5 things I'll do that will get this economy going in a major way. Number 1, we're going to take full advantage of our oil, our coal, our gas, our minerals. Number two, we're going to make sure that trade works for us. We can compete successfully with anyone in the world. I want to open up new markets for our goods. But when people cheat like China has cheated, we'll put an end to that. I will stop it. Number 3, we're going to make sure our people have the skills they need to succeed. And for that to happen, we have to have good training programs. By the way, there are 47 federal training programs reporting to 8 different federal agencies. You can think of the waste and the inefficiency. I want to take those 47 programs, take the money from them, make sure that North Carolina gets its fair share of that money, and you craft your own programs for your own people in the way you think. Kids that have skills they need to succeed, and that means our schools have to be a lot better than we've been seeing over the past several years. It's an embarrassment that our schools are performing at the bottom third or bottom quartile of the world. And so what I'm going to do is this: I'm going to make sure we put our kids first, and the parents first, and the teachers first, and the teachers union is going to go behind. We're going to have to convince entrepreneurs and businesses large and small to grow in America, to invest in America, to hire in America. And for them to do that, they have to be convinced that we're not on the road to Greece. And this president's spending and borrowing has put us on that road. That's why I will cut federal spending, I will cap it, and get us on track to a balanced budget. Champion small business. I want to help small business grow and thrive. And to do that, unlike the president, I'll keep taxes down on small business, and I'll get regulators to see their job as helping small business grow as opposed to crushing them with excessive regulation. And by the way, there's something which hangs out over small business right now, a big cloud. And this big cloud that's hurting small business is Obamacare. It's one more reason that we got to get rid of it. If we do those 5 things, when I do those 5 things, when I'm president of the United States, I do those 5 things. We're going to create 12 million jobs. We're going to create 12 million jobs, get rising take-home pay again. We can do that. We can be there. I'm confident in the future of this country. I have seen the passion of the American people. Your willingness to be here this evening and brave the long lines to get in here. You care, not about me or even Mike or the speaker. You care about America. That's what brings you here. Chance throughout my life to see something character of the American people. And you see it as well in your workplace and around you. I was at the Republican convention not terribly long ago, and when I was there, I met a lovely woman named Jane Horton. Jane's husband, sharpshooter, serving in Afghanistan. On the day she's packing together a care gift to go to him on his birthday, a knock comes at her door, and her husband has been killed in Afghanistan. Oh. And she prepares to receive his body back in the United States, and they have a funeral service. And this was at a time when some misguided souls were up protesting at the funerals of our servicemen and women. And she was asked this. She said, "How do you feel about these people protesting at your husband's service?" And she said this, and I quote, she said, "Chris died for them to be able to protest." This is the character of the American people. Big hearts and sound principles, people who live for something bigger than ourselves. I was a number of years ago, back in Massachusetts, I had the chance to be part of a Boy Scout Court of Honor. Is a chance for our Boy Scouts to get their Eagle Scout awards or to get other awards and leading up to an Eagle. And I was one of the leaders in the Boy Scout effort, and so they had these Formica tables up front, and I was seated at the far end of the table next to the American flag, and the speaker who was speaking was the Scoutmaster from Monument, Colorado. And he described how their Boy Scout troop wanted to have a very special American flag, so they bought one with gold tassels around it. And they had it flown above the state capitol, as I recall, and they sent it to Washington to have it flown above the national capitol, which it was. And then the boys had an idea. They said, "Hey, can we have that flag float up on the space shuttle?" And so they contacted NASA, and you know, space is kind of at a premium in space. So I'm sure NASA wasn't wild about taking souvenirs on the space shuttle, but they agreed. They took the boys' flag with them on the space shuttle. And the Scoutmaster said, "You can't imagine how proud our boys were to watch from their homeroom as they saw that space shuttle take off, and they knew their flag was on it, until they saw that space shuttle explode before their eyes on TV." And he said he called NASA, and he said, "Have you found any remnant of our flag?" And they hadn't. He said he called every week. I think it was from February till like May or later. He called every week. "Have you found some part of our flag?" No. And then in some time, I think in September or so, he was reading an article in the newspaper that said something about a flag being in some of the debris that was recovered. And so he contacted NASA and said, "Have you found our flag?" And they came back and said, "Well, as a matter of fact, we have." And so they got NASA together with his Boy Scout troop, and then they presented the Boy Scout troop with a plastic container. And in the container, they opened it up, and he said, there was our flag in perfect condition. And then he said this. He said, "That's the flag on the flagpole next to Mr. Romney right here." And I reached over and pulled out that flag, and as I touched that flag, it was as if electricity was running through my arm. Because I thought about the men and women in our space program who put themselves in harm's way out of a desire to discover, to learn, to pioneer. It's part of the American spirit to live for something bigger than ourselves. We do that day in and day out.